Jefferson Humphreys joins us live from Bridlewood. Jefferson, what does the fire department want to see?
Well, the message today, Chris, was actually twofold. Now, the first was to the public, just trying to get education out there about just how dangerous a lit cigarette in a plant pot, peat moss, any gardening materials can be. Of course, that also attributed or also found out today that it was the cause for the Citadel fire, which we covered a couple weeks ago. The second message that they're trying to get out is just how fast these fires can travel given the new construction materials that are used today. They say that if the right materials are used, it can give them as much as 20 minutes to get to a scene and knock down a fire, and that of course is much more time than they were allowed in this instance and many others that we've seen this year. So Chris, this is exactly what they're looking for. Right now, the way the current building code works is any house that is 1.2 meters from the property line, there are two things that has to happen. The builder has to build with special sheeting on the side, which means that the plywood that's used is made with special materials, a fire retardant coating. Right now, apparently, the typical material that's used is very flammable given the resin and the glues that are used. The second thing that has to happen is the softening, which you can see up in the eaves. That can have no holes in it because fire can just shoot through those holes as it leaps from house to house. And so what firefighters are basically saying is that if changes were made to the regulations, they wouldn't see these types of fires occur.
That's the important part, is that fires extend. They get so hot with the building materials that are being used that they extend to your neighbor's house, and your small fire now affects multiple neighbors.
And so that's why they're asking to extend that distance from 1.2 meters to 1.5 meters. So any house built that close to the property line would need these special materials. Now, coming up at 6, we'll show you exactly how this fire traveled so quickly from house to house. Chris?
Thanks, Jefferson.
Lane Fraser is live tonight along the banks of the Elbow River. And Lane, the fire department also keeping a close eye on the water levels. What are they saying about it today?
Well, they'd like people to stay off the rivers, Jocelyn. You can see the Elbow River just underneath me, and it's not just flowing fast, it's also very turbid, it's very murky. You can see it's just creeping up onto some people's lawns as well. So fire officials really want people to stay away from the rivers. The water flow is quick, and it could pose a danger for anyone on the rivers. The Bow, too, is flowing very fast. In fact, it's really risen quite dramatically, officials say, in the last 24 hours.
At 6 o'clock this morning, the level was about 217 cubic meters a second coming into the Bow, and it's up to 244 now. So it is rising very quickly, and it's moving much faster.
And the fire department also reminds people that that boom upstream of the former weir on the Bow has been dislodged. So that's another reason for people to stay off the rivers and also off of the riverbanks. It's very slippery, and the land along the riverbanks has eroded a bit, so it would be very easy for someone walking along the river to simply fall in.
All right, thanks so much, Lane.
Chris Epp is down at City Hall. He's been talking to councillors. And Chris, what are some of the main concerns?
Jefferson, the main concern shared by a lot of councillors here is that the city has really committed to accommodate any delays that are caused, any costs that are incurred from delays to this project. For example, council learned last night that within that just under $300 million budget they've got for this project, there's $27 million set aside, which will essentially be given to the airport to help them accommodate any changes they have to make if this tunnel doesn't go ahead on time. Brian Pincott is one of the councillors concerned about this. He says the city has committed far too much in this case.
The risks identified for us are considerable. There are still a lot of unknowns, and we don't have a signed agreement. There's, as I say, there's still a lot of unknowns, and some of those costs, like delay costs, which we have no idea what they are.
And Pincott is worried that several projects, including those in his own ward, especially transit issues, are just going to be put to the sidelines now for the next 6 years because council is basically dedicating all its infrastructure to this money for the next little while. Jefferson.
Okay, the saga continues. Thanks, Chris.